I now I now reconvene to the organizational meeting of the Board of Education at 6 p.m. with Blair, Gagne, and Schaefer present. Before we begin, please silence all electronic devices and note that these proceedings are being recorded. Pat?
The board met in closed session from 4:30 to 5:20 p.m. regarding conference with legal counsel, existing and anticipated litigation, student readmissions, student discipline matters, conference with labor negotiators, ACT and CSCA, and public employee discipline dismissal release. No action was taken that requires public disclosure.
Leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight is Josiel Mejia, who is mayor of Boys Republic.
Please put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will now have our annual report on academic indicators. Dr. Park will present.
Vice President Hernandez-Blair, members of the board, Superintendent Enfield, Cabinet, and community. We have our annual update to the board this evening on our Local Control and Accountability Plan, also known as the LCAP. Chino Valley has 3 LCAP goals. Goal 1 is for all students to be provided a high-quality teaching and learning environment. Goal 2 is for students, parents, families, and staff to be connected and engaged to their school to ensure student success. And finally, Goal 3 is for all students to be prepared for college and career beyond graduation. Our 3 LCAP goals is aligned to the required 8 state priorities. California's accountability system for school districts is based on the performance relative to these 8 state priorities and is reported out to the public on the California School Dashboard. The academic indicator is one of the metrics used to measure the progress for State Priority 4, which is student achievement, and measures the progress of our students on the Smarter Balanced Summative Assessment in English Language Arts and Math in grades 3 to 8 and 11. Kindergarten through the 2nd grades do not participate in statewide testing. There have been key changes to the calculation of the academic indicator since our update to the board last year. In addition to the students in grades 3 through 8 and 11 at all of our schools, including our alternative programs, new to the dashboard calculations include the results of our students who have significant cognitive disabilities who took the California Alternate Assessment, and students with disabilities who attended our county schools and non-public schools. A color for the performance on the academic indicator is determined by comparing the status, which are the test scores from the 18-19 school year, to the change, which is the difference between 18-19 and the prior year. Performance is displayed on a 5x5 placement chart and also on colored gauges. On both charts, red represents the lowest performance color, green being the goal for the district, for student groups, and also for schools, and blue representing the highest performance color. On the Smarter Balanced Assessment, a student can receive 4 possible performance levels. Standard not met being level 1 through standard exceeded level 4. Each grade level has different cut points for each of these performance levels that range again from 1 through 4. The first step in determining the district score or a student score is to compare how each student did compared to the lowest scale score of level 3, which we refer to as standard met. Then the distance results for all of the students is averaged, yielding a final score. In our next segment of the presentation, we will have Dr. Freed, our Director of Assessment and Instructional Technology, who will review Chino Valley Unified School District's performance, which was publicly released today. And Mr. Hackney and Dr. Rodriguez, our curriculum directors for elementary and secondary, who will close by sharing our next steps.
Here we see our performance on the 5x5 placement chart for English Language Arts for grades 3 through 8 and 11. Performance color is determined by comparing the status and the change, with the status being the total average distance of our students for level 3 in 2018-19. And the change reflects the difference of achievement between 2019 and 2018. CVUSD achieved green status. 5 student groups are in green and blue. 5 student groups in yellow, reflecting increases in each of those student groups. And 2 student groups are in orange, including our students with disabilities, reflecting an increase of 10.4 points. As a reminder, district performance is also reflected on colored gauges. Green is the goal for all students. Red is the lowest, and blue represents the highest performance level. CVUSD achieved the green performance color, surpassing the county in red and scoring 19 points above the state performance. Here we see our math performance on the 5x5 placement chart. A huge accomplishment for CVUSD is that we moved from yellow to the green performance level. 5 student groups are in green and blue, 5 in yellow, reflecting increases from the prior year, and 2 student groups in orange, with our students with disabilities growing from red to orange. Here is our comparative district performance for math reflected on colored gauges. CVUSD is in green, surpassing the county in red, and also the state, which is in orange. Another way we can examine student performance is looking at scaled scores over time. Because they are vertically calibrated, increases in scaled scores across grade levels reflect improvement. Let's take a look at 2 examples, starting with our current 5th grade students. The first year they took the test in 3rd grade, they achieved a baseline scaled score of 2,445.7. The following year, that same group of students grew in their average scale score to 2,484.4, with that growth reflected in green. Moving down to our current 8th grade students, the first year they took the test, their average scale score was 2,423.2. Through the years to 7th grade, we can see their average scale score was 2,567.8, reflecting growth each year as indicated by the green. In math, when we examine the same group of students over time, the green reflects increases in achievement for all students. We will close our presentation with our directors in curriculum and instruction, who will share next steps.
Our next steps are intended to support all students in our district. Specifically at the elementary level, we have our instructional coaches who support our certificated teaching staff and work collaboratively with our special education instructional coaches as well to ensure that the needs of all students are met. We have data chats where we meet with all of our principals to hear their needs and form our next steps as a CIIS division. We have intervention teachers that support student progress And all intervention support is based on data that is continually provided by our students. Our PLC, or Professional Learning Communities at Work training, continues with all of our teachers, as our teachers are going through a continuous cycle of improvement. In addition, coupled with the PLC process, we have identified essential standards in the areas of ELA and math to support our teachers and to focus instruction. We have professional development that is ongoing at the district level and at the site level. And at the site level, it is based on how teachers are going to deliver the instruction, specifically in English language arts and in math. We are piloting transitional kindergarten materials to assess for a future adoption, and we continue to use technology to support our instruction.
Because our two departments work closely together, you're going to create a full continuum of services across K-12. You're going to see a lot of the same next steps. So I just want to take a moment to highlight, in addition to what Mr. Hackney said, just highlight a few of these that you didn't hear about. So at the secondary level, we're in our first year of adoption in English language arts as well as English language development, standards aligned materials. In addition to that, we're currently piloting NGSS aligned instructional materials in grades 6 through high school. We're fortunate enough to be able to provide classroom sets of Chromebook devices in all of our junior high school math and in our high school science courses. We continue to increase the number of sections of collaboration classes. That's where we have a general education teacher and a special education teacher teaching alongside each other to service all kids in the classroom. We continue to be able to offer ELA as well as math intervention in our school day within our master schedule. Our essential standards at the secondary level, in addition to ELA and math, we continue to round out in the other content areas to create a guaranteed and viable curriculum and essential standards for other content areas. And then finally, we have a twice yearly roadshow where CIIS puts together a group of administrators, and we visit each of our comprehensive as well as our alternative education high schools to align messages as well as practices and procedures to support the schools in college and career readiness. So with that, that's the end of our presentation to the board.
We're even going to try to use the lights.
Yeah, well, try it. It does.
Okay, well, for now.
Okay. Mr. Schaefer.
Thank you, and thank you all for the presentation and all the hard work that I know goes into putting this stuff together. A couple of questions. On page 8 and page 10, which are our 5x5s for ELA and for math. In the yellow, we have our 3 subgroups that the LCAP were originally designed to assist and provide extra support for. Did we see improvements in those 3 subgroups over last year's as a whole in ELA and math?
Yes, in English language arts, we saw increases with our unduplicated student groups that you are talking about, our English learners, our homeless, and our low-income students.
Okay. And have we identified any other programs or things we can do to further assist them to continue that growth? Because I know that, and I know it's difficult, and I know it's hard to track all of that stuff, but I want to make sure that we have some type of mechanism in place to make sure that they continue to improve other than just the dashboard scores.
Sure. In addition to all the services that we provide from a school district perspective, at all of our schools, we have been really focusing on the individual needs of the students. If you talk to all of our administrators, they will know who our unduplicated student groups are by name.
Okay.
They will know the challenges, what helps them be motivated, what helps them to learn. So our focus will continue to be on understanding the whole child and their needs.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
So a few of us attended the annual California School Board Association conference, right? So I was looking up one of the items that pertain to specifically the inequities that exist with our African American students. And so it's concerning to me that they're still in the low category, both in both math and language arts. So they presented something called Equity in Action. And I can forward this to Dr. Enfield, who can then share with you. But this group of individuals implemented equity summits. And in the summits, they discussed equity action plans for each of their subgroups. And I would like, you know, I'll forward the report, but I would like to see something like that begin to be implemented. And it was part of their LCAP. It was Linwood Unified School District, Compton Unified School District, and Napa Unified School District that were part of this. And so I would just like to see something where we begin to focus specifically on this group. I'm excited that as a district as a whole, we're gaining, but I'm concerned that these groups continue to remain in the low. And I would like to see some increases in that and some more focus on our subgroups.
Thank you. We look forward to reading the report.
Thank you. Thank you. We are now moving on to an annual presentation that is always extremely emotional for me, and I think it's impactful to everyone in this boardroom and to every board member here. So now, the annual presentation of the Della Robert wreath, one wreath. Principal Hampton from Boys Republic High School, would you please make your way to the podium?
Thank you very much. Yes, you did say a wreath, and that is because for the first time since I've been a part of this, we sold out of wreaths. Every wreath was shipped out. 3 weeks of making Christmas wreaths and sending them all over the world. Send out over 35,000 wreaths in 3 weeks. So you do the math, about 12,000 a week, sending them out. And these guys worked hard on them. They all worked hard on them. I brought 4 of my students this evening. One of them is our mayor, and he's already led us in the pledge. And 3 of them will be graduating from high school next week. And I'd like for them to come up, and I'll let the mayor say a word first of all.
First, I'd like to start by introducing our students that are graduating. Norris Lewis right here, Keon Wills, and John Frelick are and also one of our great staff from our cottage, Sarah Leach. Well, good evening, members of the Chino Valley Unified School District, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jaziel Mejia. I am the mayor of Boys Republic, and it is my privilege to present to you a gift of a Della Robbia Christmas wreath from Boys Republic. As Mr. Hampton already said, we made over 35,000 this year, and we've been making them for almost 100 years, since 1923, and we sold every single one of them. And all of us, including them in the back, worked really hard on these, and it is our honor to present you this wreath.
Awesome.
Is there something for the hanger?
Where's the hanger?
It's on. Thanks.
I'm quite proud of these young men, and each year I bring a different group of boys here because nobody's the same from the year to year. But each year I'm always proud of them. They've done a good job. 3 of them will be graduating next Thursday. Our mayor here, he'll be graduating sometime in the early spring, if not late winter. And Josiel is a born politician. We have elections where we elect our mayor. And Josiel got up and he promised everything that he knew how to promise, and he was elected. He promised that they were going to have a dance with girls coming to the school. I don't know how that's going to happen, but he said it's going to happen. So I would like to step back. I'd let you talk to the boys for a second, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hampton. And so at your school site or campus, there are different programs, programs that aren't offered at our conventional high schools. So you do get an extra benefit by being there. And so we would like to hear those programs that you participated in and how they've made you reach the pinnacle of graduation.
Well, they have a lot of beneficial programs there. Like, they have a culinary program. They have a culinary program that's actually pretty cool. There's a chef. He teaches it, and they have a really nice state-of-the-art classroom there. And then they have the automotive program, and they have a nice auto shop, all the tools you might need, a nice teacher to teach you what you might need to know. There's a lot of different trades you could learn there, construction, masonry, just a lot of stuff you can learn, and yeah.
Did you participate in all of those?
Yeah, I participate in the culinary and automotive part.
Awesome, thank you. Anyone else? No?
I also took part in auto shop with him, culinary, welding. He didn't mention the welding. We have a wood shop class too, masonry, like he said. We have a bakery class too, which we brought you these treats from, and I participate in that too every day. So I had a part in bringing these treats to you.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
There's just a lot of opportunities at Boys Republic, and I want that to be known here.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's over 25 pounds.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Ever tried this?
Did she get one?
Yeah, I did. Thank you.
How about to Miss Walker back there? Miss Walker, raise your hand. So it seems our other 2 students are a little shy. So, Mayor, do you want to close?
Norris Lewis right here is one of the leaders of one of our cottages, and he leads our cottage basically. And well, he comes to us in student government. He's part of student government. We have a government. It's kind of set up like this too, where we listen to the needs of every cottage, and he presents the needs about our cottage, and I basically decided what we need, and I vouch for them.
So he's the advocate for the cottage? Yes. Very good. Thank you.
I don't know if you'd like to come up and say something about how I feel.
No.
At the cottage.
Silent leader.
Right, silent leader. He does talk, right, because he advocates.
Of
So
course.
we'll trust you, Josiel.
He pushes the structure in the cottage, so he's a really good leader.
Thank you.
I want to just tell you, this cottage was selected Cottage of the Month. Just to get selected, and we just started this where we wanted to recognize excellent in behavior, excellent in grades. And then, so you earn positive points and negative points. If you do little work or you're a disturbance in class, you take away from your cottage. If you get A's and your outstanding behavior, you add points to your cottage. This cottage had more points than 5 of the other cottages combined. They dominated. They took it seriously. They worked hard. That's why, not coincidentally, that they're having 3 young men graduate next week. They worked hard. When they get there, most of them don't think graduation is going to be a possibility. But they worked hard to get there. And that's when you see them believe that they can do it and they achieve it, it means everything in the world. And I'm proud of what they're going to be able to do here and leave us real soon. So, thank you.
And we're all proud of you. Thank you.
I'd just like to add one more thing. Thank you for inviting us here, and I'd like to let you guys know that Norris Lewis was one of the students of the month, so he's also really well educated. But thank you.
Thank you. We are now at election of officers for 2020. Board Bylaw 9100 states the board will elect a president, vice president, and clerk from its members and appoint the superintendent as secretary to the board. Tonight, for the first time in 7 years of being here, we don't have a full slate. And we cannot nominate members who are not present as they are not available to accept their nominations. We'll begin with the election of president. Nominations are now open. Mr. Schaefer, is your light on for from now, or it was earlier? Okay, so back to nominations are now open for president. I nominate Mr. Schaefer. Do I have to make the motion, Pat, since I made the nomination?
No, there's no motions.
Oh, no
To
motions.
take a vote?
No, there's no need for a vote. If there's no other nominations, then you just close it.
Are there any other nominations? Okay, Mr. Schaefer, you're president. Let's switch seats.
I would just wait till the break. So took all your stuff to move space from over there.
Oh my gosh, and you have it plugged in?
I'll get it in
You don't want to know?
because we're just doing the next 2 items, right?
Yeah.
Okay, next is the election of vice president. Nominations are now open.
Oh, I don't need that. You need that. I nominate Ms. Gagne.
Hearing no further nominations are closed. No vote is necessary. Congratulations, Ms. Gagne.
Thank you.
And finally, election of the clerk. Nominations are now open. I nominate Ms. Hernandez. Hearing no further, nominations are closed. Congratulations, Ms. Hernandez. At this point, we'll take a 5-minute break so that we can rearrange our chairs and take the appropriate seats. I now reconvene the regular meeting of the Board of Education. Next, may I have a motion to appoint Dr. Infield as Secretary of the Board?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We will now continue the nominations or volunteers for the various committees. First is the election of board liaison for the City of Chino. This City of Chino City Council meets the first and third Tuesdays of the month, 7 p.m. Are there any volunteers?
I'll volunteer.
Seeing no others, Ms. Hernandez will be the board liaison for the City of Chino Council. Next is the election of board liaison for the City of Chino Hills. Chino Hills City Council meets on the second and fourth Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m. Are there any volunteers or nominations? I will nominate myself, or volunteer myself. Are there any others? Hearing no further, nominations are closed. I will be the liaison for the City of Chino Hills. Next, item 6, the election of board liaison, City of Ontario. Ontario City Council meets on the first and third Tuesday of the month at 6:30 p.m. Are there any volunteers or nominations?
I'd like to volunteer.
Any others? Hearing none, Ms. Gagne will be the representative to the City of Ontario City Council. Election of board liaison, Chino Valley Independent Fire District. The fire district meets on the second Wednesday of each month at 6 p.m. Are there any volunteers or nominations?
I'll volunteer.
Are there any others? Hearing none, nominations are closed. Ms. Hernandez is the nomination, or is the representative to the Chino Valley Independent Fire District. Next is the election of representatives. County Committee on School District Organization meets once annually, normally in October, as the official voting representative. Are there any volunteers or nominations? I will nominate myself. Are there any others? Hearing none, nominations are closed, and I will be the representative to the County Committee on School District Organization. Election of representative, Chino Hills Parks and Recreation Commission. The commission meets on the third Wednesday of the month at 7 p.m. Are there any volunteers or nominations? I will volunteer myself. Are there any others? Hearing none, I will be the representative of the Chino Hills Parks and Recreation Commission. Election of 2 representatives for the joint meeting with the City of Chino.
I'll volunteer.
These are scheduled as needed.
I'll volunteer.
Hearing no further volunteers, nominations are closed. Ms. Gagne and Ms. Hernandez will be the representatives to the joint meeting with the City of Chino. Election of 2 representatives to the joint meeting with the City of Chino Hills. These are scheduled as needed. I will volunteer myself. Is there anyone else?
I will.
Are there any further volunteers or nominations? Hearing none, nominations are closed. Ms. Hernandez and myself will be the representatives to the joint meeting, City of Chino Hills. Election of representative, Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce meets on the third Wednesday of the month at 7:30 a.m. Are there any volunteers or nominations?
Yes, I'll volunteer. As I'm on the board of the Chamber of Commerce.
That would probably be good. Hearing no further volunteers or nominations are closed, Ms. Gagne will be the representative to the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce. The election of representative and alternate for the Baldy View Regional Occupation Program Commission for a term to expire on in December 2021. The commission meets on the second Wednesday of the month at 6 p.m. Are there any volunteers or nominations? I will volunteer myself to remain as the representative to the commission. Are there any further nominations for representative?
Just a point of clarification, is there also an alternate that needs to be?
Yeah, I'll take nominations for that now.
I'll volunteer.
Are there any others? Hearing no further volunteers, I will be the representative and Ms. Gagne will be the alternate to Baldy View Regional Occupation Program Commission. And that concludes our committee assignments. Oh, yeah. Next is the board president's presentation. Dr. Enfield, since Mr. Na is not present this evening, would you please accept the plaque on his behalf and present it to him at a later time?
Yes, not a problem.
Thank you. Okay, moving down, we are now at comments from our student rep. I didn't think we were ever going to get here tonight.
Good evening, President Schaefer, board members, cabinet, and community members. This past Tuesday, December 10th, the Superintendent Student Advisory Council met for our monthly meeting. Allow me to give an overview for the upcoming months. We kicked off our campaign on World Kindness Day on November 13th, where events such as Kindness Week, door decorating contests, spirit dress-ups, and lunchtime activities were planned and executed. The theme for November and December was Start with Hello. January is I See You, I'm Here. February is How Can I Help? March is What Can We Grow Together? And April is Take Care. As part of our kindness and inclusivity campaign, on Tuesday's meeting, we prepared a district-wide activity for January. We sorted and counted thousands of wristbands for every staff member and student at all schools throughout the district. The bracelets say, Got Kindness, our simple and concise motto for January. Our goal is to make every person on campus feel welcome and included so that a positive learning environment can be created. Wristbands will be delivered to schools prior to December 18th by SAC members. All schools will be responsible for handing out wristbands prior to January 17th. For elementary school, each bag of wristbands will include a campaign overview. The next SAC meeting will take place on Tuesday, January 21st. Now for the high school reports. Chino Hills High School ASB successfully put on their space rally on November 22nd, where the gym was covered with black lights and neon posters. Congratulations to Chino Hills Band and Color Guard for being the Western Band Association 2019 4-5A Grand Champions. Chino Hills Choir is having their holiday concerts December 11th and 12th at 7 p.m. in the theater. A Jeans and Socks for Teens drive is this week for Temple Community Outreach Center, where donated jeans and socks can be brought to the ASB office or second period classes for homeless youth and low-income families in San Bernardino. More information for Chino Hills is available on their Instagram at Chino Hills ASB. At Don Lugo High School, this week is the Holiday Spirit Week. Monday was Merry Monday, where students wore red and green. Tuesday was Holiday Character Day. Wednesday was Deck the Halls, where students wore Christmas socks. Today's was Merry Christmas from the Family, wear a flannel for a family photo. Tomorrow will be Santa's Workshop, where students will wear holiday accessories like Elf or Santa hats. Now for Chino High School. Yesterday, the Chino girls basketball team left the United States to play in a Canadian basketball tournament in Edmonton, Alberta, as part of the REB Invitational. Chino High School is one of only 2 teams that will represent California. The full article about this incredible opportunity is available on chinohighathletics.com. Congrats to Chino Wrestling, who took 3rd place in the Ontario tournament over the weekend. At Ayala High School, this week is also the Holiday Spirit Week. Tuesday was Baby It's Cold Outside, where students wore Christmas or holiday sweaters. Wednesday was Deck the Halls, where students were decked out in holiday attire and colors. Today was Snowed In, where we wore themed pajamas. Tomorrow will be Winter Snow Out and is white and blue colored attire. This week, Drama Club is selling holiday grams to go towards their program. Grams are sold at lunch in front of the multi-purpose room for $4. Congratulations to Ayala Choir for completing their 21st annual Magical Feast. They worked extremely hard to put on this amazing performance. Thank you for listening and have a great night.
Thank you very much. We are now at comments from employee representatives. Brenda Walker, ACT. No comments tonight? Well, thank you for being here. Mr. Danny Hernandez, CSEA. Right on. And representing CHAMP tonight is Ms. Barbara Bearden.
Good evening, President Schaefer. Congratulations. The board, Dr. Enfield, and cabinet. I'm here to represent CHAMP because Mr. Mackesy was unable to attend this evening. On behalf of CHAMP, it's that time of the year that we just are reflective on how the year is going. So on behalf of CHAMP and all of our participating students and families, we would like to say thank you to the Chino Valley Fire Department and everyone who helped organize the Make a Child Smile event. It was amazing and heartwarming. I got to see all the videos. I stayed at campus. My AP got to go and have all the fun with the kids. We would also like to thank the board for their continued support of professional learning communities. The training that our teachers and principals are receiving with Janelle Keating is improving the work to increase student achievement at each school site. It's very exciting. Additionally, we owe Yvette Farley our thanks for her support with our school plans for student achievement, Her guidance through the process was greatly appreciated this year. Finally, we are grateful for the help all the directors have been able to provide this year, from Dr. Stephanie Johnson in Student Support Services to Dr. Sherry Johnson in Health Services, and everyone in between. We have an amazing team here at Chino Valley Unified who go above and beyond to support each other. Enjoy your holiday with family and friends.
Thank you very much. We're now on comments from the audience on items not on the agenda. Pat, are there any requests to speak on non-agenda items?
6 requests to speak.
Speakers will be called in the order the request was received. Please listen for your name and be prepared to approach the podium. Any comments on agenda items will be accepted during consideration of that item. Once the board has commenced deliberations on an item, speaker cards will not be accepted. The board is very interested in your comments, but please bear in mind that the board typically does not respond to comments during this time on the agenda, as it is reserved specifically for public comments. Individual members may respond during board comments at the end. Ms. Hernandez, will you please explain the light system?
Speakers, you have 3 minutes to address the board. Limit remarks to new points. Begin comments at the green light. The yellow light means you have 30 seconds left. The red light means your time is over. Please adjust the microphone as necessary, and audience members, please refrain from making comments while speakers are at the podium. Please note that Board Policy 1312.1 outlines the procedure for anyone who wishes to file a complaint against a district employee.
The first speaker is Jose Gamez, followed by Nathan Ramirez, followed by Victoria Licaro.
Hi, my name is Jose Gamez, and I am a 6th grader in Mr. Rawson's class at Road Elementary School. I live in the apartments in College Park. Our apartments are a little over 1.5 miles from school. Last year, I was able to take the school bus to and from school every day, but because of the construction of a sidewalk along Edison Avenue, I am no longer allowed to take the bus. It is not there and is no longer a bus, but that only kindergartners get to ride the bus. And the bus is a big bus. So yes, that is correct. The bus comes to the apartments and picks up kids, but because I'm 12 years old, I cannot get on bus. Rain, wind, heat, it doesn't matter. I have to walk to school. I'm only in 6th grade, but I know that adding 50 or so kids to a bus isn't going to make it cost more appropriate. So why can't we all ride the bus? I know that the admin in the district does not have the kids' best interest in mind, so I hope that the school board will.
Thank you.
Nathan Ramirez.
Hi, my name is Nathan, and I am a 6th grader at Edwin Road Elementary School. I, like Jose, live in the College Park apartments. Last year, getting to school was easy. There was a bus that picked us up every day and dropped us off each day. This year, the same bus comes, but we cannot get on the bus. For some reason, there's a rule that if you are in 1st grade, you're expected to walk if school is less than 2 miles away from your home. But it's weird because the bus that comes every day, and not one of those little buses, a full-size yellow bus, but only a few kids get on, and the rest of us need to walk. Now, I get it if there wasn't a bus or if there wasn't any money, but Mr. Rawson told us in debate that the budget for our school district is over $250 million. And he said that there are dozens of people who work in the district office that make well over $100,000 per year. But I have to walk to school, and so does a 6-year-old 1st grader. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it? So what he said was that the people in the district who really make the rules are the school board. So I'm asking you, the school board, if you can fix this for us. Are we really expected to walk through the rain while a bus drives right past us? Thanks.
Thank you.
Victoria Licaro.
Hello, my name is Victoria Licaro, and I am a 6th grader at Edwin Road Elementary School. Like Jose and Nathan, I will talk about how you should give the school bus back to the students in the apartments. There used to be a big school bus that would take students from their home back to Rhodes and back after school. But recently that bus was taken away. Rhodes is almost a 45-minute walk from the apartment, and now kids have no way of getting to school other than walking through rain, hot sun, and windy days. Many students relied on the bus transportation to arrive early and eat breakfast at school, but now they cannot eat breakfast because it takes them a long time to walk to school. Many of these students are second language learners and are in need of tutoring before school. Also, these students cannot participate in clubs and other activities that take place before school since they have no way of getting there early. Every year we are losing students to charter schools, homeschooling, private schools, and virtual schools, yet these students want to continue coming to public school and are not helped to do this. Even though you might think there is not enough money to give buses to students, when you think about it, they don't need a new bus. In the past, there was once a bus that carried all students home to the apartments, but now there's a rule that only kindergarteners can go on. This rule isn't letting tons of kids get home safely. You members of the district should understand how important it is to go to school, but by taking away the bus, you aren't giving students a safe way to get to school. Some students might even be missing out of school because they have no way getting there. At the beginning of this presentation, there was the LCAP rules and goals, and all of them were talking about how students should be receiving the best education, but how are we to give them the best education if they have no way of getting to school? Even though I myself don't live in the apartments, I'm still here speaking because it doesn't make sense at all how these students are walking through rain, heat, and all this really bad weather. Big distance when there's this huge bus that's nearly empty, an 84-seater that only has 2 kids, and here are these students who still have to walk a long way just to get to school. It wouldn't even cost you guys any money to transport them safely. All you would need is a few extra minutes of the bus driver's time to make sure these students get to school safely. Thank you, and I hope you will bring the bus back.
Thank you.
Scott Rosen, followed by Elena Lacaro, followed by Barbara Hale.
I first want to thank the board members for letting my students speak today and wish you guys a Merry Christmas. The issue here is very simple. 2 years ago, the apartments in College Park were given a school bus to Rhodes, even though they did not meet the district requirements because there was no sidewalk. During the past year, construction was completed and crossing guards were added. So now these students are required to find their own way to school. But not all of them. District policy states that kindergartners who live over 1.5 miles are to be given transportation. But all other elementary school students must live over 2 miles. These apartments fall between the threshold of 1.5 and 2 miles, and here lies the problem. The school bus goes from these apartments in College Park to Rhodes every morning with AM kindergartners, then returns every afternoon to the apartments with PM kindergartners. So last month I went to the bus lane duty after school, and I saw a full-size bus that holds between 56 and 82 students pick up 4 kids, 4. 2 of which went to College Park and 2 to a stop about 6 miles south of Rhodes. So this bus had around 65 empty seats, and letting other students ride the bus would cost no money, 0. There have been meetings about this with a Rhodes parent, but district personnel has stated that nothing can be done because that's the policy. But come on, who makes this policy? The district does. And who could easily write an addendum saying that if there's a vacant bus, if there's a bus that has vacant seats and students who wish to go to the stop that already exists, that they can. We could fill seats using a formula created for this exact scenario. First graders could get priority, siblings, etc. It wouldn't matter. And whatever the formula created, it would cost no money. To give you a tangible example about the unwillingness to think logically and how it's affecting children, we have a 2nd grader at Rhodes who just won an independent study this week. He lives in the apartments, and his parents have issues with affording a car. This student missed 8 days of school last year, but as of December 4th, had already missed 16 days of school this year. And now he's not going to class at all. And we could fix this problem at no cost. So the problem here isn't money. The cost to let these students ride the bus would be nothing, 0. The bus is already going to Rhodes from the apartments. The driver is being paid for, gas is being used, etc. The problem is district officials are letting their own policies determine what's best for these students. But that's why we have a school board, right? I'm confident that the 3 of you will let what is best for these children and really just common sense make the decision to spend no money so that 4 to 6 dozen students, rather than 4, can have a safe, fast, and reliable way to get to and from school. Thank you.
Thank you.
Elena Lacaro, followed by Barbara Hale, followed by Catherine Osman.
Hello. I'm here tonight. You probably don't want to see me again with this topic, but it is for the bus transportation again. And I don't want to be coming back with other students, but I'm determined to come back with all the students that are being affected. So in that sense, I just want to let you know, I know you all have the best interest in your heart, because right now I heard Ms. Park present on the LCAP. The LCAP, and I heard her say, to meet the individual needs of students. I also heard many say, not only that, to understand the whole child and their needs. Well, this is their needs, the very basic minimum needs. And I also heard somebody say to further assist them individually. Mr. Schaefer, that was your also words. And so these are individual students coming in showing their needs. The basic part. Now, I'm thinking, I sat down through the LCAP meeting for many years, and when I saw the amount of $13 million and how it's being broken down to meet all the needs, language learners, foster kids, low income disadvantage, all the other students, minorities, all these kids feed that. Are you being funded through the LCAP for these kids? And they're not getting to school? I tried to explain that to my daughter, which is Victoria, and she couldn't understand it, and I couldn't make sense of it either to her. So in that sense, I appeal to you to please find a way. Even if it's I know minimum charge where the income bracket, they could afford, but give them that choice. Because missing school, because they don't have transportation, should not be something that you guys, the district gets funded and that they don't never could come to school for. So in that sense, I truly ask you to please consider this, have this conversation. And the other thing before I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year is that I want to know why you changed the rotation into now this board elected. I mean, I understand the fundamentals behind it, but I know that this Chino Hills Chino Hills board members, they still do the rotation. And I want to know why you changed that. And if hopefully one day you could address that, because it seems like all members should have a turn to become a president, and all members should be able to act in that office. But anyways, Happy New Year's and Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Barbara Hale, followed by Catherine Osman.
Hi, good evening. I'm Barbara Hale, Executive Director for Sycamore Academy. Congratulations on your new appointments. So first I want to say thank you for the beautiful new playgrounds at the Alternative Education Center. Our students love it. Your contractor did a great job of keeping with our timeline, and your staff communicated when they did some extra stuff while we were gone to beautify the campus even more. I just wanted to come tonight to quickly share that we submitted a Prop 39 request by the deadline of November 1st for next year. And we have received the 12-page document back arguing our projected enrollment for next year. We spend a significant amount of time on this, and clearly you're going to be spending a significant amount of money with attorney fees to respond to us. And I'm hoping to save you from that. We are simply requesting that we just stay right where we are, no more, no less space. We have a great relationship with the partners at the site. We are working vigorously on obtaining our own site, so we anticipate this being our last time requesting Prop 39 facilities. But what you've had to do so far, just by our November 1st submission, is pay your attorney to scrutinize about 200 pieces of paper, cross-check them with a spreadsheet, and then write us, we'll say a redundant 12-page rebuttal. I hate to think about what that costs, and I would hate for you guys to spend all of our rent paying an attorney to argue about, I think it's about 20 kids that we're arguing about right now. So your lawyer's going to tell you that you need to go through this process, but he works for you. And so you do have the authority to direct him in how you want to approach it, and that can help control the costs. I appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Catherine Osman.
Did you want to adjust the mic before I start the light?
Good idea. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to apologize for my attire. I try to dress nicely to honor my board. And it's because my class today, my second graders, just did a 13-minute Christmas Carol presentation with all the correct words. They were cut a great deal, but they were the original words of Christmas Carol. I'm extremely proud of them, and I'm dressed to honor them. Okay, so our district doesn't spend money frivolously. They do it with good reason. And yet they are going to spend money to install smart boards in K, first and second grade classrooms, without, I believe, any compelling reason to do so. The reason can't be that they will help kids learn better. One of the recent attendees at the California School Board Conference reported that in a breakout session, they learned that there's really no evidence that kids learn better with technology than without it. It couldn't be that we have a need to start early or kids will get behind in learning technology, because as you can imagine, my students don't get the greatest amount of technology in my classroom, but they still use technology to pass tests and get identified as GATE. I have usually 9 or 10, which is probably as many or more than other second grade classrooms. And they also do as well or better on all of the standardized tests we take. I want to say that there are articles in teaching journals that suggest some of the use of technology now, the rush to using it, is because of the pushing of the companies, but I will let that go. I just want to challenge the district to inform the taxpayers why we need smart boards. If it is to learn better, please cite several studies that prove this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. No further speakers.
Oh, thank you. We are now at changes and deletions. Pat, are there any changes or deletions?
The following changes and deletions are on the agenda. Item 2A1, 2020-2021 board meeting calendar. Strike the date April 16, 2021. There is only one meeting in April 2021. Item 3C2, student expulsions. Case 1920-19 is deleted. Case 1920-14 is amended so that student is required to complete petty theft counseling.
Okay, we're now at action items. The first item is the 2020-2021 board meeting calendar. Recommend the Board of Education approve the 2020-2021 board meeting calendar. Are there any speakers?
No speakers.
May I have a motion?
So moved. I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Gagne, seconded by Ms. Hernandez. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Preferential?
Aye.
Next item, nominations for California School Boards Association Delegate Assembly. Recommend the Board of Education nominate up to 7 candidates to the California School Board Association Delegate Assembly. Are there any speakers?
No speakers.
May I have a motion? Hearing no motion, the item dies. We'll be moving on. Next item, public notice and hearing regarding co-location of Community Day School, Chino Valley Learning Academy with other educational programs operating at the Los Serranos school site. Recommend the Board of Education give notice and conduct a public hearing to receive parent, guardian, and community input regarding the co-location of Community Day School, Chino Valley Learning Academy with other educational programs operating at the Los Serranos school site, including the district's Alternative Education Center, Sycamore Academy of Science and Culture, Arts Chino Valley Charter School, and Spectrum Center Schools and Programs. Yeah, thanks. I now open the public hearing at 7:05 p.m. Do we have any speakers?
No speakers.
No speakers. I now close the public hearing at 7:06 p.m. Next item, adoption of resolution 2019-2020-22, certifying no satisfactory alternative facilities available for community day school, approving co-location of community day school with other educational programs operating at Los Serranos school site, and submission of requests to the State Board of Education for a waiver. It is recommended the Board of Education adopt resolution 2019-2020-22, certifying that satisfactory alternative facilities are not available for a community day school, and approving the co-location of the community day school, Chino Valley Learning Academy, with other educational programs operating at the Los Serranos school site, including the district's Alternative Education Center, Sycamore Academy of Science and Cultural Arts Chino Valley Charter School, and Spectrum Center Schools and Programs, and submission of requests to the State Board of Education for a waiver of the application of Education Code 48661 subsection A pursuant to the general waiver provisions of Ed Code 33050. Are there any speakers?
Barbara Hale.
I won't take any time. I just wanted to make sure you knew that Sycamore, oh, sorry.
Hold on.
Sorry, I was faster than your.
Well, I was going to give you the spiel, but 3 minutes. And, okay?
30 seconds. Sycamore Academy supports CVLA. We have a great partnership going on that campus, and they're doing a great job, and we support the waiver. So that's all.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Hernandez, seconded by Ms. Gagne. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Preferential?
Aye.
Next item, the 2019-2020 first interim financial report. Recommend the Board of Education approve the 2019-2020 first interim financial report and authorize the President of the Board of Education and the Superintendent to sign the positive certification of financial condition for the current and 2 subsequent fiscal years. Are there any speakers?
No speakers.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion made by Ms. Gagne, seconded by Ms. Hernandez. Questions or comments? We'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Preferential?
Aye.
We're now at the consent calendar. Pat, are there any speakers on the consent items?
One speaker on item 3D7.
Okay, so that item will be pulled? Or are they going to discuss on it right now? Speak now?
There's only one speaker, then I withdraw my request.
That's fine, you can withdraw.
Okay. Thank you. So no additional speakers. Do I have a motion for the consent items?
So moved.
Point of clarification, are there any polls?
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. Ms. Hernandez, any polls?
No.
Ms. Gagne, any polls?
No polls.
And I have no polls. Now can I have a motion for the consent items?
So moved.
Ms. Gagne with the motion and Ms. Hernandez with the second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Preferential?
Aye.
Gotcha. The motion passes with a vote of 3-0. We're now at information items. Are there any questions or comments from the board on information items? Okay, we'll move down to board and superintendent comments. Ms. Hernandez?
I wanted to address Ms. Osmond's advocacy regarding technology. And yes, I did speak with her as I left the California School Board Conference because I attended a workshop, Technology Addiction, Impact, Treatment, and Legal Implications for Schools. And I attended it just for you. So yes, I did say that there is no independent research showing educational technology improves learning. What it also says that those who use technology in the classroom point that engagement has improved. Engagement is important. There are a lot of students who need to be engaged. So I fully understand your concern. I appreciate your passion on behalf of students. But in also speaking to your peers, there aren't too many who want to pull away from the smart boards. And just like anything, things evolve. We went from chalkboards to projectors to whiteboards, and now we're at smart boards. I doubt anyone wants to return to chalkboards. But what I'm saying is that things change. And as parents, we need to be more responsible about technology and technology use at home because it all begins at home. And so I've read what you've sent me, like I shared with you. I've read everything that's been provided to us, but I did my own research. And so I continue to support the technology that we're providing, the technology that staff will bring forward to me, at least for my approval and my vote and support. But as always, as I shared with you, I always do my own research, my own due diligence to make my decision. And so I continue to support technology in the classroom. I want to address the concerns regarding bus transportation at Rhodes. And I want to commend the students who were here to share and advocate on their behalf, and to our student who's advocating on behalf of her peers, you know, for her friends, for her classmates. And that is what a community does. Something that doesn't directly affect you, you still, if you believe in it and you know that it's affecting your neighbor, then you stand up for that cause. So, but I do want to say is, well, first of all, I'm going to ask, is it truly just 4 students on that bus? But then I guess that would raise the question about every other school site. You know, as I've shared in past meetings, when we had changes to a lot of our school sites, when boundaries were changed, I walked the path from what is now Anna Borba moved across the way to what was Richard Gerd, and then those students, some of those students had to move over to Dixon. And so it fell below the 2 miles, but I walked it to make sure that it was below the 2 miles. But in that sense, I guess we would, if we were to address this for Rhodes, we would also have to address it for the other school sites where students are walking. And I think that that's where the cost comes into play. However, if we already have buses going that way for kindergartners, then we should definitely be filling up the buses. And so I will follow up. I want you to know that all of us that are here don't take things lightly. We ask questions and we believe and trust that staff are providing us with the most accurate information. But now you've done your research and you've said yourselves that you've seen empty buses, and so that's concerning. And so just rest assured that I will be sending a follow-up email for that. There was a question about the rotation on the board. It was addressed at the last school board meeting. If you watch the video, it's very clear as to why the change was made. It didn't really matter to me whether we stayed with rotation or didn't stay with rotation. I did share that I believed that the rotation had worked in my case, being part of the minority. I think that the only reason that I was afforded an opportunity to be president was because of the rotation. I think had it not been for that, I probably would have never been able to assume that role. So I get that, but I also support the forwardness of new board members and their vision of what they feel needs to be done on this board. Since this is my last year, I wanted to support their vision for the changes that they see. So it's both ways, and if it doesn't work, I'm sure that they'll do the right thing and consider changing it back. But I do support any attempts to improve something, especially when it's new board members and they have different goals for the district. I was also asked, one of our board members at the last meeting asked that an item be tabled because they hadn't done research on the item. And so I was asked why I didn't support tabling of the item so that the board member could do research. I want to explain to everyone that action items first begin as information items. So we know what's coming up for the next board meeting. We can do our research at that time. If we miss something, we receive the agenda the Friday before a board meeting. So we have the whole weekend, we have Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to do any research or ask questions of Dr. Enfield, who will then forward them to staff for a response. Therefore, we are afforded at least 4 weeks in which to conduct research. If any of us decides to not use that opportunity to conduct research and we just open the agenda that day and then decide we want to table something, I think that that's unfair to the rest of us who have done our due diligence. And so for that reason, I couldn't support tabling an item for which we had already received significant advance notice. And so I want to share that because it's important that individuals know that things aren't just thrown at us without sufficient time to review and ask pertinent questions so that we can make an educated vote. Lastly, because of the school board conference, I want to ask staff, Dr. Enfield and his staff, to consider providing a career fair. I know we have college fairs, but from the beginning when I was first elected, I really was trying to figure out a way to restore, you know, just like at Boys Republic, the welding, the auto, you know, trades, because not everyone is college bound. And at the conference, it was shared that career fairs have been very successful at other school districts, specifically because the unions right now have a multitude of apprenticeship programs, paid apprenticeship programs that start off, as long as you're a graduate from high school, $18 to $22 an hour as an apprentice, with assistance to then gain employment in the trades. And I think that we need to, if we're not going to restore these courses, that we at a minimum work to provide a career fair for those that are not college bound. I have a lot of, I did a lot of outreach. I had lunches and dinners with a lot of the unions who have the apprenticeship programs, and I'll be forwarding that information, but I would like to see that come to fruition in 2020. And with that, I'm going to end my comments. I want to congratulate Mr. Schaefer and Ms. Gagne on their new positions, and you know, this will be my last December meeting, and I just want to share with all of my educator friends and with all staff is that I sat here as a socioeconomically disadvantaged student, breakfast, lunch, summer school programs, an English language learner, very basic means. And I just want everyone to know that this is what success looks like. Everybody's path is different. But when my parents attended, and Dr. Carr met my parents because he was my daughter's principal. To this day, she speaks of Dr. Carr. But they attended one of the graduations when I was president of the board. And I couldn't even look that way because my dad was crying, because he cries more than I do. And I couldn't even look there, but at that moment, their efforts, their struggle, immigration issues don't exist in public education. Teachers don't care about a student's immigration status. Librarians don't care. Custodians don't care. Bus drivers don't care. Assistant superintendents don't care. Board members don't care. You just have to know that our parents did what they did for a reason. And I am one of those reasons. So I want to thank everyone. I look forward to an exciting 2020. My baby will graduate in 2021, and I want to enjoy that last year. He's had some struggles, but I can tell you that if you have a child or you know of anyone who isn't cutting it in our traditional high schools, that virtual academy is heaven sent. I can attest to that. He is back on track. He's back as a 3.33, Dr. Carr, thank you. He slipped a bit, but he has restored himself. He's restored my belief in our district, all thanks to Dr. Carr and that amazing staff over there, and the fact that we continue to support the non-traditional programs. That is really important. So thank you all. Have a Merry Christmas, and let's have an amazing 2020. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gagne?
Oh, good evening. I first want to thank everyone who came this evening, and I'll be as brief as possible. First, I'd like to thank the students from Rhodes Elementary who came. It's hard enough when you're an adult speaking in front of a bunch of people you don't know very well sometimes, and so I appreciate that you prepared comments and came here today. And also just being civically engaged. So thank you for taking your time in research and being here. I'm sure you have school tomorrow, so I appreciate you being here this late. I do want to address a question about why I, taking ownership of this, propose the policy to change from a rotation on the board to an elected board. First and foremost, one of my goals in running for office was to enhance communication with the community, to enhance communication with the unions that are employed in our school district, and to generally create a more positive image of the school board. I'm born and raised in Chino, moved to Chino Hills a couple years ago, barely left the area just to go to college, and this board has been plagued by a bad reputation. It's been plagued by national media because things become hyper-politicized. This is a school board. We should be focused on quality public education. And one of the reasons that I wanted to propose a policy change is that we are an elected, nonpartisan board. I did not know why we were not electing the members of this board who serve in leadership. And it's been indicated by some members of this board that this was a political move. These are nonpartisan positions. I'm here for quality public education. I can say that many of my colleagues on this board are also here for just that reason. The decisions that we are making, whether it's financial stewardship or curriculum or whatever the case may be, are about quality public education and making sure it's accessible to our students. So next year, in terms of my goal, is I'd really like this board to become just less political. I don't know why it becomes political. I don't know why when we're talking about benign administrative decisions, things are mentioned at these board meetings that have nothing to do with quality public education. Sort of baffles my mind. And I want this board just to be focused on quality public education. Every couple years we go into an election year. We're a board of directors, and whether it's of a school district or a corporation, our job is stewardship, and that stewardship has to make sure that every single student, staff member, every single parent, every single community member is fairly represented. So I'm happy to entertain further questions about why I proposed this. I was the reason why that board resolution that changed the policy came forward. I elaborated much more thoroughly at the last meeting when we took this vote of why I made that recommendation. But I'm happy to answer questions because I do believe if you propose something, you need to stand behind it and answer the community's questions. I just want to wish everybody a happy holiday, regardless of what you're celebrating and how you celebrate it. Please have a safe and joyous holiday. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Enfield?
Yeah, I wanted to recognize all of our teaching staff and the support staff that supports our teachers, along with the classified staff. If you look at the presentation by CIS, Dr. Park's presentation with the data, and if you looked at that, and if you notice, I don't know if people noticed all the green that went across there, and those scores on those tests you can see are from 3rd grade going to 4th grade to 5th grade to 6th grade to 7th grade. The students' cut scores continue to increase, and that doesn't happen by accident. It happens because we have a dedicated group of teachers in our district, along with the support staff who support them every day, and that's from our custodians to our secretaries, to our aides in the classroom, to our school psychologists, to everybody in this district to make that happen. And we're at that halfway mark. I know our high school students are taking finals next week, and then we get a break and we go into the holiday season. And with that, I'm very grateful as a superintendent to be able to work with such a awesome group of people. And so I'd like to take the time too to wish everybody a safe, happy holidays. Spend some time with your family and friends. Take some time, get away from this, relax. You need to re-energize, and then we come back into our second semester, and we know that the second part of our school year goes very, very quickly. And Audrey, I want to tell you, enjoy the second part because this will be the end for you, but it will be a great, great, great end to, a great education. So have a happy holidays, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd first like to start off by also commending our student speakers from Rhodes tonight and their teacher, Mr. Rosen, for being civically engaged, for seeing looking at something that you perceived as an injustice or an issue, and for standing up and speaking out against it. So hopefully we can get some answers for you either way, but staff will look into the feasibility. I do share some of Ms. Hernandez's concerns about the overall impact at other sites across the district and selectively choosing sites to do busing. So that's something that we do need to address. But I do, again, commend you for speaking out tonight. I'd like to also thank the Boys Republic for the beautiful wreath that they presented to the board, and also for the delicious baked goods. And I'd like to take this chance and opportunity to thank now Mayor Art Bennett from the Chino Hills City Council. He was the liaison from the city to our board for many years. They had their reorganization meeting on Tuesday night, and we now have a new liaison, Council Member Cynthia Moran. So she will be coming to our meetings, and she was a great resource for us and for the audience. A couple of things that I attended since last meeting. On November 22nd, I attended the Adult School HVAC completion ceremony. This is a program run on our adult campus. It's done in conjunction with Chaffey College. It basically makes some of our adult learners at the end of the program job ready with certifications in some HVAC processes and knowledge. And so in speaking to the men, because it was all men that ran through the class this time, some of them, probably about 30 or 40% of them already had job offers, and they were sifting through those because they were multiple job offers. And so I'm very happy and very proud that that's something that this district provides for the adult learners in our community, a brand new career. One of the gentlemen in there was like me on the back nine. He was a little older, but he was starting a new career, and it was great to see that. I too attended the CSBA conference in San Diego. A couple of courses or sessions that I went to, one that I found really interesting was in dual immersion, as our district starts the process of transitioning to 3 classes, the Spanish, the Mandarin, and the tech class. There was a lot of great information. There's a lot of great resources out there from districts that have already gone down the path that we're starting. So hopefully we reach out to some of them, Corona Norco, I know, Ontario, Montclair, and get some pointers from them and then tailor things to us. At CSBA, one of the sessions that actually Dr. Enfield and I went to was a reception, and it was a CSBA focused session, and they were presenting Senator Connie Leyva with the Legislator of the Year in Education. She does represent Chino as part of our district, or part of her district, and she also chairs the Senate Ed Committee. She's an invaluable resource, not just to us, but all the districts within her district. The great thing about going to this event was she was presented with a plaque, and the plaque contained artwork from one of our students at Chaparral. They ran a contest. Our students were asked to submit some artwork, and one of our students from Chaparral was selected. So their artwork is really her plaque, and it turned out really nice. I was honored to attend the 18th annual Make a Child Smile event at Walmart yesterday, and it was the first time I'd been, and it was extremely heartwarming. I know Councilman Hargrove was there, and you know, it benefited 100 or so students from our district from 10 different campuses. There's a rotating schedule that the district has for the campuses that are selected, but normally it's 5 in Chino, 5 in Chino Hills, and one of the Ontario campuses. And then the school sites select the students. But to see the buses roll up with all of the students that were just so excited to get to go in and not buy stuff for them, because from what I was told, a large number of them actually go in and buy presents for their family members, their mom, their dad, and some of them even go to the food section. And you know, that breaks my heart, because we think of Chino Valley as a pretty affluent area, and we sometimes forget that there is still a huge need with many of our families and many of our students. So I hope that during this holiday season we can all find some time to donate back, whether it's donating at the Chino Neighborhood House for their Christmas dinner and present giveaway, or any of the other great organizations in the community that go back to help support those that are a little less fortunate. From committees, ROP, Valley View ROP last night, we had our organization meeting as a commission. The Chaffee representative will remain on president 1 more year, and the Claremont representative will remain on as a vice president for 1 more year. And then from the Chino Hills Parks and Recreation Commission, just a reminder that this Friday the 13th, tomorrow, is the annual Chino Hills Boat Parade that starts at 7 p.m. That concludes my comments. I hope everyone has a very Merry Christmas and a joyous holiday season, and a happy and healthy New Year. I adjourn the meeting at 7:33. Board members, will you please remain seated as we have the Capitol Facilities meeting?
Yep. Oh, nope, I'm land acquisition.
So we are going on to the Capitol Facilities, right?
Yeah, he did, yeah, so 3.33.
Great, good to know. Organizational meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Chino Unified School District Capital Facilities Corporation, Thursday, December 12th, 2019 at 7:36 p.m. with Hernandez, Gagne, and Schaefer present. We now move to comments from the audience on items not on the agenda. Are there any requests to speak?
None.
Seeing none, we now move on to action items. We are now at the action item. Item 2A1, appointment of treasurer to serve on the Board of Trustees of the Capital Facilities Corporation. Recommend the Board of Directors appoint a trustee to serve as treasurer on the Board of Trustees of the Capital Facilities Corporation for a 3-year term expiring December 2022. Well, it says here the offices of treasurer and secretary can be the same person, but if not, may I have a nomination or volunteer for treasurer?
I nominate Ms. Gagne.
Okay, I accept. Why not? 2 roles. Okay, Ms. Hernandez, Ms. Gagne was nominated by Ms. Hernandez. Are there any further nominations for treasurer? No. All right, hearing none, nominations are closed. Ms. Gagne is selected. We now move on to consent items. We are now at consent. Are there any speakers?
No speakers.
We move on to item 3A1, minutes of the December 13th, 2018 Capitol Facilities Corporation organizational meeting. Recommend the Board of Education approve the minutes of the December 13th, 2018 Capitol Facilities Corporation organizational meeting. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hernandez.
Second.
Second by Mr. Schaefer. Are there any comments, questions, or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Preferential vote not here. Motion passes 3-0. That concludes the business of the Capitol Facilities Corporation. I adjourn the meeting at 7:38 p.m. Please stay in your seats for the Land Acquisition Corporation meeting.
And that's me, right, Norm?
Yes.
No, that's Joe.
Okay.
I'm just the vote.
I call to order the organizational meeting of the Board of Directors of the Chino Unified School District Land Acquisition Corporation, Thursday, December 12th, 2019 at 7:38 p.m. with Gagne, Hernandez, Blair, and Schaefer present. Sorry, it says Blair.
That's okay.
Item 1B, comments from the audience on items not on the agenda. Pat, are there any requests from the public to speak
None.
on non-agenda items?
None.
We now move to consent. We are now at the consent items. Are there any requests to speak?
No.
Item 2A1, minutes of the December 13th, 2018 Land Acquisition Corporation organizational meeting. Recommend the Board of Education approve the minutes of the December 13th, 2018 Land Acquisition Corporation organizational meeting. What's that?
Motion and second.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. I was getting there, you guys.
Oh. I thought you lost your place.
No. Are there any comments or questions? We'll vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. The business of the Land Acquisition Corporation is now concluded. I now adjourn the meeting at 7:40.